In my opinion, the knowledge of mediums and how to use them is what will turn a beginner level artist into an intermediate advanced level artist. It is such a huge difference once you know how to control these layers of semi-transparent glaze to augment your colors. Once you do that, you will be much more capable of getting the results that you desire. Okay, folks, I present to you all the major painting mediums that you will need to be able to make acrylic and oil paintings. There are much more than just these, but these are the basics that you most certainly need to know. Now, starting with acrylics, we got water as our major medium to thin it down. And I'm using some golden fluid acrylics, which have already a certain type of binder and medium in it for them to flow. I'm going to start by dabbing a little bit of that pure color and going in with no medium. This gives a pretty clean brush stroke because there's already a decent amount of water in there, but I think it might be just a little bit better if I add just a tiny bit of water. Then I can get a cleaner finish to that calligraphy brush stroke. I think that is a little bit nicer. Now this is one of my favorite mediums. It's called Satin Glazing Liquid. And what you do is add this to your brush strokes and it extends the fluid time, which means that it will take longer for the paint to dry on the canvas. The benefit of this is it has a longer workability, so you can use it to make blends of color a lot easier and you have more time to work it before it dries. I'm doing this with a fluorescent orange. First, you see what the fluorescent orange does just by itself. Maybe a little bit of water, it is already pretty transparent. But when I add that satin glazing liquid, it is capable of being spread out much further. So you can fan out the color and it goes a lot longer. Now you can see me using this glazing medium on the brush. It is quite a bit more transparent than the pure color. And one of the benefits of using a glaze over a wash that uses a lot of water is that the glaze will not drip, whereas a wash, if you turn your back, there might be some drip sneaking down the canvas. Like I said, this paint fans out super thin and it is fantastic for blending with other colors. Well, there you have it. Water in your brush strokes make them tight and clean, but glazing medium is the option for doing big fills of color. Next we get on to oil painting. I'm doing pure oil paint color and I'm just showing you guys what it looks like to do some dry brushing with a bristle brush. That is no medium, just fanning out the oil that I have. You can see the thing with oils is that just one dab of that oil on the brush is actually going to go way further than acrylics. You can fan out oils really far, so this color really stretches. Turpenoid is to oils what water is to acrylics. It's what you clean your brushes with, and it's what helps break down the oil. When you add turpenoid to your paint, it makes it less of a solid and more of a liquid. So if you're looking for more of a watery effect in your background to get started, you would want to add a lot more terpenoid to your paint. Also, in a similar way to water is with acrylics, if you want a nice clean brushstroke with oils, adding just a little bit of terpenoid in will help that out with the flat brush. As you can see, adding a little bit of terpenoid really helps this brushstroke run smoother across the canvas. I tend to use more terpenoid in the early processes of the canvas, and later on, I use more of the other mediums. I later transition into linseed oil. That is one of the mediums that I will use on top of my terpenoid underpainting. I like to use linseed oil because it is the traditional way that the masters of the past have done. They call it the fat over lean technique. And these type of paintings, we are certain, last hundreds of years. So it is a very time-tested way to make art. Linseed oil is a truly fantastic painting medium. The only drawback from it is that it takes about 3 days to dry. And if you're a professional artist who's working really fast, you might not want to sit around and wait for the paint to dry for that long. That's why I use the medium Liquin. I use Winsor Newton Liquin Original, and it is fantastic for large glazes, not only because it has a wonderful transparency effect and it sticks well on the canvas, but also because it dries in only a few hours. Because I'm doing this whole painting demonstration in one sitting, I'm going to use this Liquin Original and some fluorescent oil paint on top of the acrylic that I was previously painting with. The reason why is because my oil paints that I just threw down have not dried yet. And I'm going to go over it and see how these colors interact together. At first, this glaze starts really lightly. I'm just using a tiny bit of paint, so I'm going to add a little bit more in there. And I go thicker with it. I personally love the combination of fluorescent pink and fluorescent orange. It's like this hot salmon color that I think is really great. But if I wasn't liking that, what I could do is take a rag and wipe the whole thing off. Now, what would help me with this is maybe a few drops of that terpenoid, and I'm going to pull it off super easily. So, dab on some terps, deciding that you don't want to keep that layer anymore, and the terpenoid is only going to affect the oil layer. It's going to keep the layer of fluorescent orange acrylic underneath it. Alright, check out what happens when I put a few drips of the terpenoid on those previous wet oil paint brush strokes. Just a few drops of it on those brush strokes, and then what I'm going to do is take a rag and swirl it all around those, and it's going to make a really cool wispy abstract pattern. Check it out.